Right, well, I am back in Fowler's because this morning, on this cold February morning, I am going to try out one of the new Honda GB350Ss. Now, I have had my eye on these for a while, not necessarily to buy one, but, well, you never know. I really like the idea of a lighter, smaller bike for kind of urban riding and stuff like that. And I absolutely love the look of these new Hondas. So I booked in with Fowler's, said, can I borrow one for a couple of hours? And they were like, yeah, go ahead. So that's why I'm here. I'm going to pop over to the Honda department, which is kind of outside and across the parking area, and pick up the Honda GB350S and take it for a spin. Very much looking forward to this. Right, so this is the Honda GB350S. I've just picked it up from Fowler's. The thing that strikes me immediately, and obviously it was going to be the case, this thing is so light. It feels like a 125 from what I remember 125s feeling like when I rode those. There's some kind of assisted clutch thing here as well, which makes the clutch really, really light. It's slightly taller than I expected it to be. I've got my toes down happily, but I'm a short guy. But I got my toes down happily on the floor here, so it's not, you know, there's no stability issues or anything like that. But my life, this is really, really, really light. So it's a single cylinder air-cooled machine. It's about as old school as you can get in terms of kind of motorcycle mechanics. Obviously it's going to be injected, it's not going to be a carburetor on this. Yeah, there's no choke or anything like that here. That would be fun if we found an old carburetor bike that they've released. But what a fantastic looking bike. I'm going to take you through town because that's what this is designed for. This is designed for the urban rider. This is designed for somebody that is going from A to B around town, trafficated areas, needing to kind of zip about and not have a massive cumbersome bike to maneuver around town. This just feels like the easiest thing in the world to ride. So I could go that way, which would take me up kind of to where I'm heading to quicker, but I want to go through town. I want to try this with some traffic and feel what it's like. Now, the maneuverability on this, the kind of the ease, and the seating position is quite a bit higher than I'm used to with the Thunderbird, so you're kind of perched on top, which kind of is nice. But what it does, it puts you in a very upright position to be able to swivel your head and move about on the seat really, really easily. It's actually a joy. I've only ridden this for 2 minutes, and this is like it just feels kind of right, you know, in traffic, in town. I am on a motorcycle. This is not just a motorized bicycle. That's what I've got to tell myself now, because the weight of this thing, I feel like, you know, if you ran out of fuel in this, you wouldn't go to the petrol station to get a fuel can, you'd just carry the bike. No, you probably wouldn't. But single cylinder, so it's a thumper, you know, nice little torquey bike, nice little torquey engine. What great fun. Oh yeah, I'm liking this already. I think I would prefer slightly wider handlebars, but then again, you're going to be using this bike to kind of weave in and out of traffic and, you know, get to the front of every single queue that there is. And you don't want to have big wide bars where you're going to be hitting people's wing mirrors and stuff like that. You just want to be unhindered, getting around town, getting through traffic. But the weight factor, my life, that's the reason you go for a lighter bike or a smaller cc engine, is that there just isn't the need for that much weight. I mean, I've just come from the Thunderbird, part of the Thunderbird. That's a 230 kilo bike or something like that. I don't know what this is. This can't be much more than like 150, 160 kilos or something, which just feels awesome. This feels awesome. I'm pretty sure as well, if you wanted, you could take this on longer rides as well. I mean, this thing is so easy. This assisted clutch, I read about it having some kind of assisted clutch. I'm going to read up on that later on, see what the case with that is. But everything is very light and easy to use. And listen to that. I hope you can hear it. Just got that single kind of thumper engine. And you are sat on the... I think it may be something with these newer bikes. When I tried out the Royal Enfield, the Shotgun 650, that was also quite a bit lighter, but not as obviously as light as this. But the seating position was quite similar. You were kind of sat on top of the bike a little bit. And I mean, this has got plenty of grunt, you know, more than you'd need round town, really. Obviously, it doesn't have that kind of acceleration that you get with a 900cc triple. More than enough around town. How great is this? So I've seen a number of people that have, you know, even people that do a bit of touring and stuff like that. I need to get over there. Oh, that was that was the one. I didn't want to do that. People that do some touring, you know, went to smaller bikes, 250, 350cc bikes, to kind of tour around the world with. Now, it's totally possible. This one would probably happily sit at 60 miles an hour all day long. But you see why it's such an attractive thing, because the weight factor, it's just so much easier to be maneuvering around. And if you're doing any kind of touring where you're going off-road at all or anything like that, then you most definitely need something that is gonna be easy to pick up when you drop it. Now, this is so light that I reckon you could pick it up with one arm. Let's do a bit of the 350 magic here, shall we? Easy. It's not a zebra crossing there, mate. We're going to go find somewhere we can stop and have a look at this bike, have a good look at it, and see what we're dealing with. That is the lightest clutch I've ever used. Everything about this bike is designed for your urban rider, city rider, getting around in towns nice and quickly without getting yourself carpal tunnel syndrome as you're holding your clutch in all the time. This clutch is just, it's as light as it comes. It really is. It's lovely. See, I don't think I've been up above third gear yet, and I've come, you know, basically from one side of Bristol to the other so far. And that's the thing with city riding, is that you just don't use a bigger bike, or even a smaller bike for that matter, to its full capacity. Because you just don't need to. You don't need to at all. And I think this is going to be the perfect option for somebody that has their big bike that they're loath to get it out through the week to commute to work, because it's just too heavy. You know, the hassle of getting the thing out and starting it up, and you know, particularly if you've got a carved bike, you're sat there waiting for it to warm up a little bit in the winter and all that kind of thing. This literally, off you go. I don't know if it's got too much tech on it. I don't think it's got any tech on it at all, actually, which I particularly like, because I don't like bikes with loads of tech. Obviously there was a neutral light there, which is quite nice. Oh, hang on, when I'm riding, that little eco thing comes on, so it's showing me that I'm riding economically. That's it. Shows me what gear I'm in, shows me how fast I'm going. That'll do, isn't it? That's all you need. This is the triangle, this bit here. We're just going to go past it. Look at this. This is great, this bike. This is just great. I mean, you can just fling this thing around like it's a rag doll. It's fun. This is like, yeah, there's not loads of poke in it, but it's great. Let's go up White Ladies Road, follow these taxis here in this bus. Do you get like nods when you got a 350? Do other motorcycles nod? Like, you know, do they do the motorcycle nod thing, or is 350 too small of an engine for that? I don't know. You tell me in the comments below. Are you a respected rider? Are you classed as a biker if you got a 350? I would say yes. Oh, a little bit of a surge there. I remember I used to have, one of my first bikes was a single cylinder thumper. It was a 500, and it was made by Cagiva, and it was called a Cagiva River, and it was a single cylinder 500cc. It was the most brutal thing to ride because I don't think there was any kind of rubber mounting or anything, so you just felt like, okay, I'm going to get arthritis after I use this for a while. This is going to wreck me. This one feels really nice and dampened. It feels smooth to sit on, even though it's a thumper and you can hear it and kind of feel it thumping underneath you. You don't feel it through the bars at all. It feels really quite smooth and nice. So we're up on the downs in Bristol now, and we're getting to the point where it will overlook the suspension bridge, and we'll see if we can stop down there, although there's usually quite a lot of people. Let's have a go, see if we can get up here. Yeah, we're fine there like that. So here it is. This is the Honda GB350S, and I gotta say, it is an awesome bit of kit. It's small, it's lightweight, it's kind of a nod back to the retro style Hondas that you saw everywhere in like the 80s. Shape of the tank, everything. It's just like, let's just take an old design, stick a 350 engine in it, make it as simple as possible and put it out there. So this bike is exactly what you need if you're trying to get around town. If you're like an urban commuter and you don't want to be lumping around some 250 kilo bit of kit, this is the bike for you. I need to check how much this actually weighs. By the feel of it, it feels like it might be like 150 kilos or something like that. I feel like I could carry it, probably can't. I might be able to bench press it with some help from friends, but it is a lovely bit of kit. So on the front, you've got just your single disc. Obviously, a double disc at the front are pretty unnecessary for this because I don't think you're ever going to be riding this at more than like 50 miles an hour. And around town, you might not even get up to that. There's not much tech on it. You've got a few lights on the dashboard here, but there's not even like an LED display. It's like an old school type dash that just does what it says on the tin. You've got obviously your thumper engine there, your single cylinder. It's really smooth. Really smooth. My old thumper, as I had before, you feel like you're going to get kind of carpal tunnel syndrome, but this one is really smooth, really nice. Obviously your single pipe back here gives a nice tone to it, really does. And the suspension feels quite soft and quite nice, but that's okay. It's a little bit taller than I expected it was going to be, but being a short person, everything feels tall for me, so I'm not too fussed about that. In terms of the horsepower, I think it's around 25 brake horsepower. Not the most powerful bike you're gonna get, but that's not why you buy this bike. You don't get this bike for speed trials. You don't do that kind of stuff with it. This is your urban cruiser. This is your little weekend thing that you can take out to the coffee shops and whatnot. So this bike is currently retailing at £3,949. So that isn't a massive load of money for a brand new bike. Now I'm looking at it, I've kind of checked it over, had a look at everything from front to back. Build quality wise, I think it's fine for what it is. You're not looking at the same kind of build quality as kind of a Speed Twin or something like that, or even one of the more expensive Honda bikes. You are not getting a £10,000 bike here. Obviously you're not, because it's £3,949, but it is the kind of price bracket that enables most people to be able to get something like this and use it. So it's a great bike at a great price. I think it ticks all the boxes and fulfills all the kind of objectives that this bike was meant to do. So if I was in the market for a 350, this would definitely be on the list of bikes that I will consider, because it's so lightweight, it's so good looking, and it just does what it says on the tin. Glenn, what bike you riding?
750 Shadow.
750 Shadow. He's another one of the people that have stopped and looked at this bike and been like,
that's a nice bike. I wouldn't mind one of those.
Fantastic bike.
It's a lovely looking bike. So I think this one is going to be a winner for everybody that's looking for a bit of the retro look.
Yeah, definitely.
But and
definitely.
as you know, in 10 years time, 15 years time, when I don't want to be lumping a 250 kilo bike around, something like this would be perfect, I reckon.
Oh, this thing would be a big seller, I think.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will. Nice one. Glenn, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, mate. Nice to meet you. I got to take this back to Fowler's before they start ringing me.
Don't bother taking it back. Enjoy yourself.
You too, mate. Take care, bud. Well, this bike got all kinds of interest from people. I should have filmed everybody that showed interest. I had an old lady that came. She's like, oh, look at that. Isn't that lovely? It is a good looking bike, you know, and that has a lot to say, you know. People like good looking things, don't they? And this is one of those. It's a good looking machine. Looks beautiful. Rides beautiful. Absolute stunner. Well, I'm going to take this one back to Fowler's now and thank them very much for that. And I think, you know, maybe they'll get a sale or two out of this. Who knows? They might do. And getting back on the Triumph now is going to be getting back on a tank, isn't it? Compared to this thing. I have definitely had this for longer than I should have done. Hopefully no one notices. So one of the things that I realized actually with the suspension at the back, something I didn't see immediately, is that it's adjustable. So even though this is a little bit high right now, can probably bring it down an inch or so for the really short rider like myself, so you can get your basically flat foot on the floor. But like I said, it's so light that actually not being able to get your whole foot on the floor is not a big deal, because you will be able to hold it up with just your big toe. Now, this is where it really comes into its own, isn't it? Is in this kind of traffic where you just need to get through safely. You got a nice narrow bike, narrow bars, able to kind of just weave in and out, get across town quickly, which is exactly what this bike is all about. Light enough to handle and feel like a 125, but enough power to get you out for a blast on the weekends and keep up with everybody else. I think this bike is an absolute peach. I really do. It's a little bit like riding off-road through Bristol at the moment. Look at this. Flipping heck. What is going on here? All the things that I kind of slightly reacted to when I first sat on this bike, like the handlebars are quite narrow, I felt like I sat quite high, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's completely gone now. I feel like I've been on this bike and I've ridden it for weeks. It just feels completely like second nature. You know, I guess it is like that with all bikes you test ride. You're on them for a little while and you just kind of get used to them. But this is just the most nimble little thing I have ridden for a long time, and I am absolutely loving this. This is absolutely brilliant. You could just fling it around everywhere, this thing. Back at Fowler's HQ. Right, and there we go.
Great thing about coming to Fowler's is that you got Harry's Cafe, so you can always get a cup of coffee, and apparently they do a really good fried breakfast here as well, but I'm just not up for that right now, so just the coffee for me. but it's a good hangout place. There's a lot of bikers come here, and there's a whole table with about 25 bikers over there at the moment that have all come parked outside and get to hang out together. I think that's one of the amazing things about biking and the biker community, is that it creates a place for people to meet and connect and do all the important stuff that we need to do in life to stay sane. It's very, very nice. So anyway, my take on the GB350S, I think that bike is an absolute peach of a bike. I'm kind of gushing about it a little bit because it's one of those bikes that kind of hits on every category that I like. So you got the styling, you got that nod back to kind of 1970s, 1980s retro style naked bikes, which I really, really like. That's definitely my thing. Also the fact that it's been kind of aimed at a certain clientele, and it's done such a good job of making sure that it hits that kind of objective. So it's light, it's easy to ride, it's economical to ride as well, I'm sure, and really, you know, for an air-cooled bike under £4,000, that's quite something. That's a cheap bike. So for people that are wanting to get out on the road on a budget, that is such a good option, a great option for a first-time rider. So you just passed your test. It's A2, I think they call it, don't they? A2, where you don't have to restrict it. It's already kind of restricted enough. So I've been saying it's 25 brake horsepower, but I actually think it's closer to 20 brake horsepower. But to summarize the bike, I would say that it handles like a 125. It's probably obviously a little bit heavier, but it handles like a 125, but has enough power so you can go out on the weekends and have a bit of fun. So for me, it's one of those bikes that kind of could cover everything for you. If you're not into kind of major long touring and stuff like that, then, well, even if you were, I'm pretty sure that you could turn that bike into a touring bike. You can turn any bike into a touring bike, I suppose, but that one particularly would be just fine, I'm guessing. But really, it's not aimed at that market. But if you're looking for a bike that kind of does everything for you, then the Honda GB350S, I think it's definitely something that you should consider. Definitely. So I'm going to drink my coffee now at Harry's Cafe, and then I'm gonna head home on the 250 kilo Thunderbird. Now that's going to feel like getting back on a tank, isn't it? But I love that bike, apart from it's popping and banging all the time. Let me know what that could be if you got any thoughts. Where would we be without coffee? Right. I'll see you guys next time.